Past 4 p.m. Central African Time. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to the weekend edition of the Iftar Drive. My name is Zaid Jadwit, and I'll be keeping you company all the way until around 6:30 this afternoon. We move on to our next discussion, and that is, of course, with Dr. Enes Bayrakli, associate at the Turkish German University. He's also the director of the Center for Migration Adaptation Research, and he's also the editor of the European Islamophobia report. He joins us now to discuss the International Day to Combat Islamophobia, which took place yesterday. It was observed on Friday, the 15th of March. Assalamu alaikum. Shukran so much for joining us.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. So yesterday was the International Day, and that was, of course, to combat Islamophobia. And this, of course, the anniversary of the Christchurch mosque shootings. What can you tell us about the significance of this day?
I think it's symbolically speaking very important that United Nations has declared the 15th of March as the International Day to Combat Islamophobia. So it's that the United Nations now acknowledge the problem of Islamophobia. I think it's important. It's a symbolic move, and yet we are still at the very beginning of this fight against Islamophobia. But I think this day will raise awareness around the globe for this problem. I mean that Muslims are facing.
When we look at the Christchurch mosque shootings that absolutely shocked the world, and not the least New Zealand, when we look at the progress or perhaps regress, I mean, you can unpack that for us. Where do we stand now, 5 years later, in terms of Islamophobia in the Western world?
Well, unfortunately, it is every day is deteriorating. The situation of Muslims, especially in the West, especially in Europe, where we also, observe the Islamophobia on a yearly basis. That we published this European Islamophobia report. So we see every year new laws are enacted in the European parliaments that is restricting the rights of Muslims to practice Islam. And that's what we call legalization of Islamophobia. So Islamophobia is becoming more and more legal, and be it headscarf ban, hijab ban, or mosque minaret ban, halal slaughter ban, and it goes on. Every year a new European country is coming up with a new idea to ban a certain practice of Muslims. And unfortunately, the situation is deteriorating. And of course, this terror attack against Muslims, what I call Islamophobic terror, was really, very brutal and shocking. Yet, I fear that we may see this kind of terror attacks in the other parts of the world also, because the narrative and discourse against Muslims is very radical, especially in the internet space and online space, and of course this can result in terror attacks also against Muslims, and this also when we look at the Christchurch terror attack, we see Islamophobia is not only about hate speech against Muslims. It can result in terror attacks. It can also even result in genocide. And that's what happened in Srebrenica, in Bosnia in 1995. The whole ideology of the Serbian army at that time was very Islamophobic, and it has also, ended with a genocide in Bosnia Herzegovina, and also what we are seeing today in Gaza is another example of genocide against Muslims. And it has also Islamophobic, of course, aspect.
I mean, earlier on you just mentioned how today it might be a hijab ban in some parts of Europe. Tomorrow it might be slaughtering bans. What exactly is driving this supposed Islamophobia? What's behind this?
I think it's first and foremost as a political problem. So when we talk about Islamophobia, we are not really talking about the prejudice of common people against Islam in a certain country. This can happen everywhere, and we may also have certain prejudices against other religions, other cultures. This is also normal. I think this is normal, and we cannot change the perception of every one of the citizens of those countries. But what is dangerous is when the politicians and the elites of those countries are pursuing an Islamophobic policy, and then they start enacting laws in the parliaments, restricting the rights of the Muslims, treating Muslims as usual suspects, associating Islam with the violence and terrorism. I think this is really problematic. So that's I think when we look at Islamophobia, I think the main issue here is that it's a political problem, and the political elites are behind this problem. And of course, it's also what I call, we define Islamophobia as anti-Muslim racism, right? This is the short definition of Islamophobia, and this is the generally speaking, almost the majority of the experts and academics who are working in this field are accepting this definition. So it's a form of racism. And of course, if you look at the problem of racism, it has created an apartheid system in South Africa, right? But what today we are facing is it's a global apartheid system. It's a global apartheid system that the Western elites are imposing on the rest of the world. So there are double standards here, that Muslims are not treated as equal as the Westerners. And again, I will give you the example of Gaza and what is happening there. Today, more than 30,000 people have been killed there, and half of them are women and children. And the world is silent. Nobody can do anything about this. Why? Because of these double standards. I mean, when Muslims are killed in Gaza, we are expected to accept this, and the elites in the West are turning a blind eye to these killings and this genocide, and they say Israel has a right to defend itself, right? So I think this is a global apartheid system, and unfortunately, that's the biggest problem that we are facing today. That these international, norms of international law and human rights, freedom of speech, freedom of media is not applied to Muslims and the non-Westerners in same manner. And that's again in Gaza. More than hundreds of journalists have been killed in Gaza, right? But if you look at the Western journalists and especially the institutions who are defending freedom of speech, they do not say anything about this. They are keeping silent. That's I think that's the biggest problem that we are facing today. So Islamophobia is not just also about Muslims, I think.
Professor Bayrakli, I think we do need to take an ad break just quickly, but certainly something I would like to discuss, and that is, of course, the issue of the application of human rights and the human rights law, international law, especially when it comes to the issue of the Palestinian people. So, if you don't mind, if you could just hang on for a bit while we take the break. And when we come back, we'll continue with the conversation.
Okay.
Salam Media, your spiritual companion this Ramadan.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and free zakat calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
Abu Hurairah narrated that he heard the Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, say, "In black seed there is a healing for every disease except death." This Ramadan, experience the health benefits of this ancient blessed seed by using the Tib Black Seed range. Black seed assists the body to boost immunity, regulate blood sugar levels, reduce inflammation, and act as a potent antioxidant. Experience a holistic approach to health by introducing the Tib Black Seed range into your Ramadan routine. Available in capsules, pure cold-pressed oil, and a vapor rub. Trust Tib Health Sciences for quality black seed products. For more information, visit blackseed.co.za. Available at leading pharmacies.
This Ramadan, join hands with Muslim hands to make a meaningful difference in the lives of millions worldwide. Your zakah and sadaqah can be the lifeline for those in need. Together we can nourish the hungry in South Africa and across the globe, offer clean water to impoverished communities, empower women with sustainable livelihoods, and bring relief to families grappling with the aftermath of natural disasters and conflict. Be their beacon of hope today. Connect with us at muslimhands.org.za or dial 021 633 6413 to extend your support.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic, Sharia, and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
Emergivac is proud to announce the launch of South Africa's first and only fully Sharia-compliant emergency medical takaful and wellness plan. In the event of a medical emergency, Emergivac Sharia will evacuate you to the nearest private hospital and put up a hospital admission guarantee of up to 250,000 Rand for an individual or 575,000 Rand for a family to cover you for any in-hospital expenses. At Emergivac Sharia, we do not believe your wealth should determine your health. Simply download the Emergivac app and register online or SMS Sharia to 40777. Emergivac Sharia, for when serious emergencies require seriously fast response.
You are listening to Salam Media live from our headquarters in South Africa. This is Salam Media, keeping you company.
And welcome back. You are tuned into Salam Media. It is, of course, the weekend edition of the Iftar Drive. My name is Zai Jadwat. I'll be with you until around about 6:30 this afternoon. My guest, Associate Professor Dr. Enes Bayrakli, currently the head of the Department of Political Science and International Relations at the Turkish German University. The topic that we're discussing right now, and I think we should be wrapping up in a few moments, is the topic of Islamophobia. And that, of course, concerning yesterday was the International Day to Combat Islamophobia. Professor Bayrakli, just before the ad break, you were speaking about the application of international law when it comes to Muslims, with particularly focusing on the situation in Gaza, where, as we know, a genocide is well underway. The question then is, when you look at this and you look at the status quo and you look at these systems that you referred to earlier on, how much of this is about the attitude towards Muslims versus the way that the systems have been designed in that they, in keeping the interests of Muslims in mind?
Well, Islamophobia, if you look at not only the Islamophobia, but all forms of racism, it has nothing to do with the realities of the Muslims. Let's say when the Islamophobes are attacking and criticizing Muslims, they say there are problems in the Muslim world, and that there are terrorists among the Muslims, etc. And then they are trying to justify all these racism and discrimination against Muslims with this narrative. However, if you look at the other societies, they have also similar kind of problems. Yet this hatred against Muslims and the racism doesn't really stem from the realities of the Muslims. So it has nothing to do with us. I mean, we may have certain problems as Muslim societies, and every society has its own problems. But Islamophobes, they are against a Muslim or an image of Muslim that doesn't exist really in reality. This is just a made up image of Muslim and Islam, and of course, it is really difficult to change. We can resist, and we can criticize, and we can also publish reports on Islamophobia. But yet at the end of the day, as I told you in the beginning, this is also a global problem. The hegemons of the world order today, they are the driving force behind this Islamophobia. There are huge amounts of money invested in Islamophobia. That's what we call Islamophobia industry. So it is really difficult to challenge. The International Day to combat Islamophobia, I think, is a symbolic move. Yet this cannot change the realities on the ground. Neither in Europe, that Muslims are facing on a daily basis this discrimination and that their practices are limited, or the Muslims in Gaza, that you mentioned also, that on a daily basis, every day, hundreds of Palestinians have been killed in Gaza today. Yet that doesn't mean that we should stop resisting. I think it's our duty as a human being, as a Muslim, to resist this injustice. But it's a really difficult task.
I mean, just as before I let you go, then, when we look at this situation around us as Muslims, how do we then respond to the rising Islamophobia? And I place emphasis there on the word respond instead of react.
Mm-hmm. I think we should not really be apologetic. So when confronting Islamophobia, some Muslims, most of the Muslims, unfortunately, after 9/11, they adopted this narrative of Islam means peace. So by saying this, they thought they can, resist against this Islamophobic, narrative. Yet being apologetic really doesn't help. What we really need to do is to question the other side, question the racism and the international system, and then we can achieve something. Because as I told you, it has nothing to do with us, all these problems. I mean, Muslims had these problems also during the Cold War, and it wasn't a big problem for most of the time for the West. We didn't see this kind of hate wave against Muslims during the Cold War. But when the Cold War ended and the West adopted this new strategy and putting the Muslims, and the Muslim world, as their target, and then we started to see this wave of Islamophobic, movies, novels, media publications, and it's a huge industry. So I think we need to question the other side. And we need to stop saying that Islam means peace and etc., because this doesn't mean also anything to other side. When you say Islam means peace, then they say, okay, but there are some ayats in the Quran about jihad. It's really difficult to explain also in this concept. So we should question the other side. Question the racism, this racist ideology, and then I think we can achieve something.
And of course, educating people on the other side. Yes.
Yes, of course, of course, of
Mm.
course. There are many peoples in the West who are resisting and who are criticizing this racism. But we need to also understand they are not in the power center. So they are not running those countries. I mean, the elites of those countries are mostly Islamophobic, and it's really difficult to change this. But there, amongst the common people, there are also people. Of course, they are criticizing this racism and they are against this racism. Yet the elites of those countries are very much Islamophobic, and this is what really difficult to address, I think.
Mm. All right. I'm sure that's certainly a conversation we'd like to pick up on at a later stage. There's much more that you can speak about and discuss about Islamophobia in the world. I know you and I did have a panel discussion. You were part of a panel discussion I had hosted on this very same platform a few years ago, and I'm sure much has changed, but much has also stayed the same since then, and a lot more we can unpack. But that's just as much as we've got time for this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, that was Dr. Enes Bayrakli. He's currently the head of the Department of Political Science and International Relations at the Turkish German University. He does a lot of his work does also focus on Islamophobia. In fact, he is the editor of the Islamophobia report in Europe, and so he's been working with this for quite some time. And I think whatever he's found really does not come as a surprise to him, especially as yesterday we observed the International Day to Combat Islamophobia on the anniversary of the New Zealand Christchurch mosque attacks. Let's take a break. When we come back, we move on to some lighter conversations. Stay tuned.